Hey guys, welcome to Rosie's Dessert Spot. In this tutorial I'll be teaching you how to make these three miniature purple and turquoise cakes. I've got a 7-inch board, placing a little bit of buttercream onto my board and then my 4-inch cake over the top, and with a piping bag just swirling on my layer of buttercream. Add on your next layer of cake, make sure it's nice and centered, press it down and add on your next layer of frosting. So this is a 4-inch cake and I split it into 3 different layers. Then using a spatula, create a crumb coat, so that's just frosting all over the outside of the cake, just making sure that none of those crumbs make it to our final layer of frosting. And clear up the top and the sides as well, and pop that into the freezer to set. Now you'll do this for all 3 cakes. The first cake I'll show you how to make is this one here with the purple rosette on top. I've used a Regal Purple gel food colour, added a couple of drops into my buttercream. Make sure that I have a nice healthy serving up top, flatten it out and then push it out to the sides. And add in some extra buttercream on the sides, make sure it's nice and healthy, that layer, because we'll be taking off most of it anyway with our bench scraper. So go around the cake nice and slowly to make it all smooth. And then with your spatula, just bring that extra lip of frosting into the center of the cake. And here, if you like, you can clean up the edge of your cake board with a towel. And to add those white sprinkles onto the side of your cake, just grab a handful from a bowl, preferably from like a Tupperware container that'll catch all the excess, and just press it onto the bottom of the cake. Once it's all covered, secure it on, and to create those more dispersed little sprinkles, just kind of drop them over the side. Once you're satisfied with the amount of pearls or sprinkles that you have in your cake, set it aside and add some extra gel food colour into your buttercream to create a darker shade of purple. Using a 1M tip, create tight swirls on your cake, just one huge swirl to make a rosette. And then using a leaf tip or cutting an inward triangle into a piping bag, you can create this really pretty leaf shape. Just add some leaves onto your cake. And that's fun. To make this one here, which is a combed frosting cake with some sprinkles at the bottom as well, very similar steps. So you'll put a whole bunch of buttercream on the top, shift it out to the sides, make sure it's nice and flat, add your buttercream healthily to your sides as well, and scrape off all the excess. Clean up your top, and then using a frosting comb, 2-sided, I'm using the smaller teeth here, just going around the cake, and try not to stop. You can go around more than once and that's fine. I didn't quite like the way it looked, so I went through with my bench scraper, cleaned it up, and then went around the second time. This time I dug my teeth in deeper, and I also made just one fluid motion. I didn't stop halfway through, and it came out much neater. To add the sprinkles, do the exact same thing. Grab a handful, and I use the board as a guide, I drop them onto the board and then press them into the cake, so it kind of catches it all for you. And if you want, you can dump out the excess into the palm of your hand instead of back into the container. That way it's easier to just keep reapplying that way. And for the very top, I'll just sprinkle some on, and I liked it that it was nice and full at the top, right in the center, and then once it got out to the sides I went as many. And then to place some meringues on top, just add a bit of buttercream underneath and they'll stick them to the cake. For the last cake, with the little drip and the macarons and the chocolate shards, very easy. Do the exact same thing as we did before, flatten out your buttercream, apply heaps to the side, and take off the excess. But before we do it with the bench scraper, I just roughly cleaned it up so that now I can add in my coloured spots of frosting, which is just the buttercream. Go around with your bench scraper, and you'll notice the more you go around, the more colour you'll end up taking off. So you might need to reapply some, and just play with it until you're happy with the look of it. And clean up the top. Now to make our ganache, I've got some white chocolate buttons and some heavy whipping cream. Mix it together and then zap that in the microwave for about 35 seconds, and then just mix to combine. Once it's all nice and melted, you could add in your gel food colour. Powdered food colour goes best with this. I added in half a drop, so I took out some of that colour. And if you're a bit worried about your chocolate seizing, then you could add in a little bit of vegetable oil as well. Pour that over the top, and I preserved some in a piping bag just to make some drips. Push it out to the sides of your spatula, And then using your little piping bag with your ganache, just drip it over the sides. And I feel like I have a lot more control of how many drips I can achieve and the length and whatnot if I use a piping bag. So that's why I prefer this method. Now to make the chocolate shards, I've got a large circle cutter and I'm cutting out some circles of non-stick baking paper. I've got regular white chocolate, not mixed with anything, just melted down white chocolate, and I'm adding in some vegetable oil because I'll be adding in the gel food colour, which does tend to seize your chocolate, which is why I added some in of that vegetable oil. Only add in enough so your chocolate remains fluid, just like so. And then drizzle that over the top, just going back and forth and then changing directions. Go over all of your shards. And before the chocolate has a chance to dry, remove those pieces of circle paper outside of that excess chocolate. And that way when it dries in a nice circle shape. That should come off really easily. Putting my little happy birthday cake topper in just before I put in the shards, and that way you have a guide of where it is you'd like to put them. Then I've got some mini macarons I'm just decorating here as well. And I had the recipe for the macarons and also the meringues and the drip and everything else in the description box below. And you're done. That's how you make 3 very simple buttercream cakes decorated with the purple and turquoise sort of theme in mind. These gorgeous dainty little cake toppers here are a little something that I like to sell in the future. If I'm already making them, then I'll have a link to these in the description box below, or you can just click on them and I'll take you straight to the link. Thanks guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I'll catch you next time.